In the contemporary U.S. political system, it's easy to miss the fact that, constitutionally at least, Congress has the bulk of governmental power. Congress's placement in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution is symbolic of its importance. Article 1 is the longest in the U.S. Constitution, comprising about half the document's total length. And yet, in modern politics, we often focus on the president rather than the Congress as the most important actor. So, in this video, we're going to explore the scope of congressional power in the United States. And we'll start with the U.S. Constitution, where many of the powers of Congress can be found. Article 1, Section 8 provides Congress with a wide range of powers, including the power to tax and spend, the power to raise an army and a navy, the power to declare war, the power to regulate commerce, the power to coin money and, by extension, to regulate the currency, and the power to make all laws necessary and proper to carry into execution their constitutional powers, a power often referred to as the Elastic Clause. And while Congress has often delegated or ceded power to the president, in many of these areas, constitutionally, the power still resides with Congress. Now, most of the powers of Congress are operationalized through the legislative process, the process of passing laws. I explore that process in detail in another video, which I'll link to in the comments section below. But even beyond passing legislation, Congress still wields considerable other powers. Congress exercises the power of governmental oversight, essentially holding the responsibility for reviewing, monitoring, and supervising federal agencies, programs, activities, and policy implementation. In this capacity, it can call witnesses, issue subpoenas, demand information from, and issue reports on the actions of federal officials and agencies. Such oversight, however, is often very partisan, with political parties vigorously exercising the power when the opposing party controls the White House, and all but ignoring the role when their own party is in power. The Senate also has the power of advice and consent, holding hearings, debating, and ultimately voting on whether or not to confirm presidential appointments to the executive branch. More than 1,200 presidential appointments require senatorial confirmation, including most of the senior leadership positions in the federal bureaucracy and all judicial appointments. Similarly, the Senate must ratify any treaty signed by the president before it becomes law. And finally, Congress has the power to impeach the president and other members of the federal executive or judicial branches, a power we explore in another video. But the powers of Congress are also subject to several important limitations. First, there are constitutional limits on the power of Congress. For example, the Constitution explicitly prohibits the Congress from granting titles of nobility or passing bills of attainder or ex post facto laws. Similarly, the Constitution limits Congress to the exercise of powers enumerated in the Constitution, and under the 10th Amendment reserves all other powers to the states. Second, a number of checks and balances in the U.S. political system serve to limit the power of Congress. For example, while Congress can pass legislation, any legislation passed by the Congress can be vetoed by the president or can be declared unconstitutional by the courts through their power of judicial review. And those checks and balances extend to the bicameral structure of the Congress itself. The House and the Senate often serve as a check on each other, particularly when competing political parties control the separate chambers. Similarly, the decision-making process in Congress, especially the Senate's filibuster rule, serves as an additional check on the power of Congress. Public opinion serves as a check on the power of Congress. As elected representatives, members of Congress must be responsive to the views and preferences of their constituents, which can sometimes constrain their action. And finally, Congress's increasing deference to the executive branch is a self-imposed limit on its own power. Since the 1960s, Congress has increasingly authorized the executive branch to operate on its behalf, a trend the courts are now pushing back against. But that's it for now. Please leave any questions you have in the comments section below, and thanks for watching. Bye.